Hello, everybody. I'm Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet, about to be joined by Ken Wiebe from the Winnipeg Free Press. We will also be bringing in Jay Bukala to help out with the Kenny and Renny post-game show here tonight because, you never know with Ken. I mean, the guy's been on a plane. He's going to be coming to you live from Toronto. I have no idea where he's going to whether he's going to come on here and talk about the Chicago Blackhawks playing the Winnipeg Jets or if he's going to be talking baseball. We don't even know with him anymore. I don't even know if he has a job, folks. Like, to be honest, he's rarely here to the degree that I kind of wonder if he's just found a door at Canada Life Center that Mark Chipman has left unlocked, and he just keeps sneaking in and walking up into the press box, and no one's noticed it yet. If you haven't, security, I'd get on it. You know what I mean? Because the guy's walking around like he owns the place. I don't even know if he's employed anymore, the way that guy travels around. Either way, Ken's going to be there. Jay Bukala is going to hop in here, and we're going to talk all about this Jets game. But first, I'm going to take you on the Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent opening drive to talk about my thoughts on that game. Now, coming into this game, thought it was pretty fascinating. We've seen what's happened with Utah. I saw Utah beat the Jets the other day, and all of a sudden there was this game where the plucky Chicago Blackhawks, young, skilled, fast, all these kind of things come rolling into town. 2 points behind the Winnipeg Jets. They win this game, and what's happening in the Central Division here, right? Like, I don't think anyone thinks that the Dallas Stars are done for, and the Colorado Avalanche are still rolling. If you start adding two more young up-and-coming teams into the mix, this could get pretty messy, right? I thought it was really, in the end, what it turns out to be is the perfect game for the Winnipeg Jets to potentially give them a little bit of the wake-up call. We'll get to that in a little bit. But if I'm talking about the first period, I got to be honest, I was a little worried for the Winnipeg Jets after that first period. Now, I know a lot of you are going to say, oh, yeah, the shots were 7-7. They came out. They were up 2-1. I know the Jets said they liked that period, and I don't think it's one of the old Paul Morrissey, oh, we like that period when, there was not a lot to like about it, but they're telling you, what you're seeing is not what's actually happening out there. I think if you take it as a whole, yeah, I like that period, but I'm taking it at that point from the perspective of what I've seen. The last 5 games, I wasn't enamored in any way with what the Winnipeg Jets were doing. And what I've seen the Winnipeg Jets doing, the 3 wins out of 5 games, 2 of them against against the Calgary Flames. And then, the next one against the Minnesota Wild, those 2 losses in there. What I was starting to see is a team where the system that I've come to know this team for, the effort to kind of cram it down your throat style of hockey, was missing a little bit. And what I was seeing in its place was a return, and I talked about this on the last show, a return to opportunism, right? And to be honest, the Winnipeg Jets do opportunism as good as almost any team in the league and have for a long time. Like, I'm talking going back to 2018. Like, the Winnipeg Jets are a team that you give them an inch, they'll take a mile. And that's what happened on this night. And they totally ran away with it. But I know some of you will say, okay, in that first period, Chicago's down 2-1. Their goal is a lucky goal, and it is. We can get into talking about Connor Hellebuck playing that puck. I know some of you worry about that. I think there's no reason to worry about it in that situation. And I got to say, it's weird to see the other team getting the hockey god bounces against the Winnipeg Jets this year because, they almost 90% of them went the Jets' way last year. So it's strange to see things kind of evening out here. But what I was seeing was, at the very least, a Chicago Blackhawks team that came in is really kind of trying to find their own blueprint and find their structure. And they were having success against the Jets. Jets do score first. They capitalize right away on a power play. We know the Jets, especially against a team like Chicago, who are young players learning how to operate an NHL power play, operate an NHL penalty kill. While the Jets get an advantage right there, right off the bat, they use that to their advantage. That's one of the things that makes this Jets team tough to beat. They shut them down on the penalty kill. I think what it was the Jets came out and they looked really solid. Then I thought they started fading as that period went on. I thought the Chicago Blackhawks started kind of establishing their blueprint. And there's a moment in the game that I think is the most important moment of the game. It's the Gabe Vilardi goal with that nice pass, the 2-on-1, Mark Scheifele. But leading up to that, there's like about a 3-minute stretch where Chicago's kind of caving the Jets in, and they're getting a lot of opportunities and shots to the point. They're finding lanes to shoot the puck to the net that really just didn't exist against the Jets last year. And there's, they're getting these tips, and it's getting closer and closer and closer. And then the puck comes out, Jets get it on their stick, go down the ice, boom, it's in the back of the net. They're up 2-1. Opportunism. My only problem with that, and I know some people were bringing it up in the chat room last time, people are bringing up the snake charmer. Listen, I loved the whole snake charmer era of the K&R show. I thought it was a really good way to explain what was happening. It's not anymore. The Jets don't kind of cheat for audience, for offense or anything like that. But what remains from all those years of the Winnipeg Jets is if they do get an opportunity, boom, it's in the back of the net. And while that can be frustrating for a team, it clearly was for Chicago on this night. It turned the tide. It made them start to open up their risk profile a little bit more. Maybe they weren't opening up their risk profile. Maybe they were just getting frustrated, right? Because we're doing all the right things and they're just going back down and scoring. I'll get deeper into that and how the Jets, I thought, kind of bent this game to their will. But the one thing that I did learn through the snake charmer era of the Winnipeg Jets is that as unbelievable as the Jets are at being opportunistic, I don't believe that opportunism is something that you can rely on. I don't think opportunism takes you really far in the playoffs, right? Like you can't be that team that, against Minnesota was the second best team on the ice last game, but they got their opportunities. Their opportunities were in the back of the net and boom, we won that game, right? Similar to some of the games against Calgary, Nazem Kadri decides not to back check here. We got it down the ice, boom, it's in the back of the net. It's all fine and dandy that you are the team that scores more often than other teams when you get those opportunities. But opportunism is quite often tied to other teams' efforts or mistakes, and those things disappear the harder the games get. So if your opportunism is your strategy, is what you rely on, I don't like where it takes you. And I guess what I was seeing before that was the idea that the Jets, I had started to see this year with a 7-3 record, but not really the underlying numbers to back that up. I was starting to think, is this a team that is going to be leaning on opportunism and then that just goes away at the end of the year? What I saw in the second and third period kind of put my mind at ease when it comes to that. I want to get into that, but I want to get into it with the folks who are waiting to hop into the show here right now. So I am going to do that. But before I bring in Kenny, I want to wrap up this Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent opening drive here, which is always such my favorite part of the show because I have the everything's me, right? I don't have to share the spotlight with everyone else. I get it all to myself. You won't share the spotlight if you head on down to Toyota because they'll put you front and center. And of course, this month the Toyota Get In and Go event is on now at Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent. Finance the 2025 Tacoma truck from 5.89% with up to a 1% loyalty rate reduction and a $1,500 accessory credit. But hurry, the offer ends October 31st. And if I'm not mistaken, that's tomorrow. So you better hurry, folks. Visit Jim Pattison Toyota on Regent for a test drive today. All right. Time to bring in the man with the best music in the business. Oh, no, he just ducked out. He was in the green room, folks, and he ran to go get a handful of green M&Ms or something like that. So I'm going to bring in the other man who's, let's be honest, this is the star of the show as we bring him in here. Jay Bukla comes walking in here. It's good to see him, my man. Hey, I love this. We started the show tonight with you and I chatting before the Jets game on Sportsnet. We end it with you here on Kenny and Renny. It's a perfect way, I think, to bookend the night here tonight. Ken says he's ready to go now, so we're going to bring him in here, play his music, get it out of the way, because we've got some finicky fans. They want to hear their music, and they want to hear it right quick. So here comes the man with the best music in the business. Here comes Kenny, folks. Ken, good to see you. You stumbled right off the plane and right into a computer screen right here in front of everyone. Good to do it here. All that said, Jay was here on time, and he wasn't checking in and out of the green room. So we're going to start with Jay.
Yeah, no excuses.
Jay, on this show, there was a lot of times where I would like talk about some of the things that the Jets did. The fact that the Jets kind of, you give them a little bit of a chance and boom, it's back in the net. And for years, I would be saying to people, that's great, but it's not necessarily the greatest thing. And you heard my opening about opportunism and how it works. So I'd like your take on that. Am I being overly critical when it comes to this kind of stuff, or when a team is kind of hiding some of the things that are behind the scenes with just that ability to kind of go out and, every time they get a chance, put it in the back of the net? Is that something to be concerned about, or is Renny just, waxing poetic and wasting people's time? And it's okay to say yes, by the way.
Yeah, you know what? It's good to see you guys, by the way. It's a little bit of both, Renny. I'm not going to dodge the question at all. It's not my style, but I would say this, that teams that are more veteran clubs in the National Hockey League, and the Winnipeg Jets are a veteran team that they know how to win as a group between games 1 and 82. What you're really leaning into here is a habit that would carry over beyond that time and would be problematic come playoff time. I don't look at the Winnipeg Jets as a team that mails it in necessarily or doesn't play to a certain style. I actually think the opposite. I think that generally speaking, if I'm an opponent coming in, and I can tell you this from a long history in the league with different teams, that coming in, they know what they're getting from the Winnipeg Jets when they buckle it up, and they're a hard team to play against, especially at home. So, yeah, I'm not concerned about it. What I did really like out of the corner of my eye, I was doing the Vancouver and Edmonton games tonight at the network, but when I was watching things out of the corner of my eye, the quick strike ability at the top of the table. Man, oh man, when they get going and they start skating downhill with the skill, would you like to see it all the time? Yeah, of course, but it's a heavy lift, fellas, and this schedule is condensed, and between games 1 and 82, there's going to be some ebbs and flows in the process here. I love the Winnipeg Jets again this year. I don't shy away from that. I think there's a ton of things to like, but certainly on balance from what I saw tonight, it looked to me like it was probably, outside of a couple of bad bounces, the most buttoned up as a group. That it felt like they were the most buttoned up version of themselves tonight as I was watching things unfold there.
Ken, I want you to hop into that, because one of the things that the Winnipeg Jets had talked about before this game, and I would agree 100%, they walked out and they said this so far was their most complete effort of the season. Before that, Ken, they were kind of alluding to the idea that, yeah, you know what, we really haven't hit our stride yet. We're not doing the things we're supposed to be doing. Some people would think it's nitpicking by the coach. Others would be saying Scott Arniel knows where this team needs to get to, and that maybe its standard was below the standard it's set for itself for a long time here now. What can, and I'd like Jay to weigh in on this afterwards, because Jay actually alluded to it there. What do you think it is about this Jets team, though, that when it doesn't have its A game, when it doesn't necessarily have that blueprint that it came out of the gates last year and had down pat, that they still seem to be able to be that veteran team that finds the way to win?
Yeah, they know what they're supposed to look like. I think that was what Jay was talking about also. Yeah, I mean, and they've got a high-end top line. I mean, every team wishes they could lean on a top line. You can't lean on them every night to produce 9 points, but when you have one of the best lines in the NHL, sometimes you can score your way through some of the doldrums. My bigger issue for the Jets through the first 10 games was their defensive structure, awareness, and puck management. I mean, we just saw too many turnovers, like things that we're not used to seeing them do. We've talked ad nauseum in the first 10 and 11 games about the integration of new forwards and new pieces and the adjustment for some of those guys. But for me, it wasn't just the new guys making mistakes. It's veterans that weren't, bearing down in their own end and getting pucks in, and just sort of mistakes that you don't expect from a veteran team. And we've kind of talked about it. Some teams are sleepwalking in the early going. Jay, you were watching Edmonton. Oilers have been sleepwalking through a bunch of their games, especially when it comes to defense. But for the Jets, they're able to find another gear, right? And that's the thing. We came in, Sean, we were in that Blackhawks room today. They're talking about structure. Well, they didn't have a lot of structure from what I saw today. Again, they're improving in their structure, but to me, it seems like they've been leaning pretty heavily on Spencer Knight. And on a night when Spencer Knight is, just okay and not otherworldly, they get exposed a little bit defensively. But otherwise, I mean, I think that the Jets' biggest issue is that they haven't been playing. They've been going to sleep in the second periods. I mean, that's pretty simple, Sean. They were challenged by their coach. They liked the challenge, and they responded to the challenge, right? So, no, they kind of blew the Flames out of the water in the second, had a couple of sleepy seconds against Minnesota and Seattle. Today, their second period was probably their best, right?
Ken mentioned Edmonton, Jay, and the one thing that we need to be cognizant of is the idea that there's a lot of really good teams out there that go out and realize, hey, it's the regular season. Never mind. It's the first 10 to 12 games of the regular season. We don't need to blow our brains out, trying as hard as we can to get our record going here. Now, the Jets went out and did near something like that last year. I think where they won 15-1 in their first 16 games. It's hard to say they're that team that, gets the rest in the regular season, knows how to prepare for the playoffs when you aren't that team that has a lot of playoff success like the Winnipeg Jets. But when you've seen teams evolve like the Jets have, where they're climbing in the standings to the point they become consistently one of the best teams in the league, win a President's Trophy, what would you say is the kind of learning process for a team like the Jets? And could we be seeing some of that right now in that there's no need for them to be buttoned down at this point? And if they can find other ways to win games without having the most effort, that may be the way that you go further in the playoffs.
Yeah. So the one problem I have with your statement there is, and I don't think you meant it this way, but for me, when you start talking about effort, there's a difference between effort and execution, right? And you can't win in this league at any time of the year without effort. It's just a fact. They have an elite top line. They have an elite roster, no question about it. But having said that, the effort has always got to be there. And some of these guys will cover for others their egregious mistakes. And you got an Vezina quality goaltender. You got a veteran decor, Morrissey. Like, you look at this roster, guys, and yeah, they don't have to be the best version of themselves every night to beat the Chicago Blackhawks, or the Pittsburgh Penguins are going to come in and they're going to be highly motivated. They're off to this fantastic start that nobody thought that they would be off to. So I'm going to digress here and say I'm going to kind of button this in two different kind of components. And the first one is this, that the first 10 or 12 game segment for the Chicago Blackhawks and the Pittsburgh Penguins and the Utah Mammoth for their version this year, that means a lot more to them than it does the Winnipeg Jets. And the Winnipeg Jets they can win games being 85% of their top tier, where the Utah Mammoth and the Pittsburgh Penguins, even the Chicago Blackhawks tonight, they don't know where that top end is yet. They haven't figured that part of it out yet, right? So the Jets can be comfortable enough in their own skin knowing that, I'll use a golfing analogy. I didn't hit it right in the middle of the club all day long, but I found a way to shape it in the middle of the fairway and put the ball in the hole. You get into that mindset that you know how to make it happen. As far as understanding how to get there, years ago when I started my scouting career with the Nashville Predators, and if you guys can think back to like the Paul Kariya days, the David Legwans, the Thomas Volkuns, and then Pekka Renny came on board, and we were really building towards something, and we were really a great hockey team between the first and the end of the season. But you know what? We didn't start, and we went out and picked up Peter Forsberg in trade, thinking that was going to be the coup de grace to get us over the top. We didn't figure it out or they didn't figure it out. I was in Florida by the time they did. They didn't figure it out until they inherited some scar tissue, a la the Jonathan Taves also comes into the lineup, a la, even a Gustav Nyquist, guys who've got miles on the tires. These types of guys that have been around different things, the Shens of the world. Sometimes it just takes an extra little push from the outside. And what Winnipeg hasn't done over the years is they haven't lost a lot of their high-end guys, right? There's a family atmosphere there, but you also got to kind of upset the apple cart a bit in the right kind of way. And then it just you figure it out. There's no science to it. It just happens. That's what's happened in Florida. You know, they made the Huberdeau trade with Uyghur. A lot of risk there. Ballsy move by Bill Zito. They bring Tkachuk in. It changes up they were uncomfortable. Trust me, I've been there. That nucleus of players, when two of their best friends went out the door, they were a little uncomfortable about that until they started putting Stanley Cup rings on their fingers, and then they weren't so uncomfortable all of a sudden, right? So the Jets have a recipe for success, guys. They do. And does it have to carry over into playoffs? It does. But these small segments at the beginning of the year, they don't move my needle in a concerning way.
Jay, sorry, quickly, just picking up on that. Sean and I were talking last game. We know the Jets are not as fast a team as they were last year with an exodus of Ehlers, Appleton, Kapari, but you're bringing in bigger bodies like Tanner Pearson, who comes from a structured program where he won a Stanley Cup. How big a factor is that to you, maybe in the adjustment to the system? Jets were so heavy on back pressure last year. When you don't have that same level of speed, we know that they're banking on the veterans to get to those spots, inherently. But right. How big a factor is that in the early going? And is that something that can get mitigated over time?
Well, no, it can't get mitigated over time because you are what you are when you're a veteran player. And some of these guys that they brought in, they only know how to play the game a certain way. But what takes over in those situations, Kenny, is just their hockey sense and their spatial awareness in all three zones, period. And the coach trusts that. And the guys, like if you look at them tonight, like in transition, Scheifele to Vilardi. It's nice to see Vilardi get up off the schneid, but it's not like he hasn't been getting chances. He's got, 26 or 28 shots on goal already. But they have the quick strike ability in pockets. Yeah. But where they don't have it, what they have is a grizzled veteran who understands how to be above the play. So I'm not going to be chasing numbers on the back check necessarily. And it opens up more opportunity for a defenseman to pinch down because they know they got middle lane support. There's a lot of variables that go into this here. You change the look, but the adjustments are fine. It's good. It's you still have quick strike, but you got these other guys you can trust because of their just the way they know how to play the game, to be frank. And Chicago, I'm going on a little bit here, but Chicago tonight, when you watch them, they come in on a high, right? This was a statement game. I thought it was a statement game for both teams, to be honest with you, because Chicago wants to come in and say, listen, we're arriving. And Winnipeg wants to kick them right in the teeth and say, oh, not so fast, kids, right? You're not quite on our level yet. Chicago, that is, they looked unorganized and they were chasing. Sam Rinzel, who's been really good for them, He was chasing the puck up ice and caught, actually pirouetting, looking for, pucks or looking for a check a few different times. They're out of their element tonight, and that speaks to the Jets' savvy.
Vlasic, too, I thought, Sean, don't you think? I thought Vlasic had a rough go.
Sorry, I got to get some work in here, Ken. Usually I compliment you on your suit at the beginning of it. I don't like to fight in front of the guests, your suit. But I've been waiting for a compliment from you this whole time. I don't know how many times,
buddy. You're looking
I need
great.
To kind of adjust the tie or whatever, but I think I look good, even if Ken doesn't. You know who knows I look good is Frankie and the boys over at Vittorio Rossi, because they dressed me like they always dress me, and it looks like $1 million. So you may not get a compliment from Kenny, but you'll probably get one from pretty much everyone else out there if you head on down to Vittorio Rossi. Walk in, loudly proclaim Kenny and Renny sent you, ask for Frankie and the boys, and they will do you up right. Jay was talking about a statement game and the recipe for the Jets' success. I think one of the biggest recipes for success they've had is that, Ken, the last couple of years, when it comes to statement games, like think of that game late in the year last year against Dallas, or after they kind of had one hung on them by Florida, then the next game, statement game after statement game after statement game, the Jets seem to kind of rise to the level of the moment over and over again. I thought, to the point of what Jay was just saying, it was trying to be a statement game for Chicago, saying we're arriving. They win that game. They're tied in the standings with the Jets all of a sudden. It feels to me that was maybe the perfect kind of game for the Winnipeg Jets to play in that situation, because the challenge was there. There was a statement to be said by both teams. The Jets usually are louder in making their statement. But I thought what we saw there was, after that 2-1 goal, after that opportunistic pounce that the Jets had, that what you started to see out of the Chicago Blackhawks was like, okay, hold on a second. All of a sudden it's 3-1. And the belief started to get shaken. Now, you'll remember this, Ken. Last year, the Jets played the Columbus Blue Jackets, and Columbus had been doing really, really well. And then they played the Jets, and the Jets just beat them down. And what I'd said about them, Columbus that last year, who also went the next game and then got beat down by Washington right away afterwards and had a little bit of a stumble after that, was, when you're a young team and you're up and coming and you're establishing something and it's working, your belief is still thin. Like the Jets' belief in what they do is miles deep. You can't drill to the bottom of the belief that they have in what they do. I thought tonight what happened with the Jets and what a savvy veteran team understands is that, if we go and challenge these guys' belief, make it hard, then all of a sudden when they press us for 3 minutes and we pop the puck out, go down, score right away, and our top line goes off the way they do and make it look easy, it challenged these guys' belief system. That belief system, I thought there was a nice push by Chicago at the end of the game. But for the most part, do you see parallels in this game between what the Jets have done in the past, in the idea that they just know we believe more than you do? We're going to challenge your belief and it's probably going to crumble?
It reminds me of when the Jets were trying to chase down Colorado a couple of years ago, right? They would start with the lead, and then all of a sudden McKinnon and McCarr would say, well, time to get moving, and it would be a 4-1 lead would become 5-4 Avalanche, and you blinked and you're like, what the hell just happened? And again, I honestly get the sense that, Sean, you were there with him this morning. You asked him. Jeff Blashill, he was not doing any victory laps. He was proud of the steps forward they are taking, but he knew there is a lot of work to do to move the baseline to the position where it needs to be. Jets went through the same stuff when Taves was playing for the Chicago Blackhawks. And to me, I think the Jets definitely kind of imposed their will in this game.
Yeah.
And Sean, this is not a knock on the top line, but in games that are not super heavy, if you're not checking and it's a pretty wide open game with not a ton of hitting, those guys are taking you to the cleaners. It's that simple. And not to say that they can't do it when the games are heavier, but if you get into some of those situations where you can get your legs going, that Kyle Connor dance, Jason Dickinson tried to smoke him after he had the neutral zone turnover, totally whiffed on him, and then there's Scheifele whipping it through the 5-hole. I love the shift, Sean. I was telling you about it on text. Mark Scheifele takes Landon Slaggert to the cleaners on the boards. We talk about puck protection all the time. He was not in the same league as Mark Scheifele on that play. Scheifele doesn't get an assist on the play, but the goal does not happen without him. So every team's going through growing pains. For me, it was an important game for the Jets to sort of get cranking in what will be the next wave of games. The next block gets you to the quarter point, and that's when you need to have your stuff in order.
I'll say this. It sure seems like if not the Jets getting their wake-up call tonight, to get to their most complete game of the year, it's clear Gabe Vilardi has got his wake-up call, which means time to give North End Rick the Pristine Roofing wake-up call at 204-981-6289. He's the guy you want down at your place for all your roofing, siding, and exterior needs. You can also call Pristine Roofing directly at 204-237-7663. Give your home the Pristine Roofing and Siding wake-up call. You will be glad that you did. Okay, Jay, you can take this one if you want. Gabe Vilardi, as you talked about, was getting his opportunities early on, wasn't panicking. He's had that breakout now. But what do you think it is about a player like that fits so well with Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele?
Personality, first of all. I think that Gabe Vilardi's as important a piece to that line as the other two, but he will never come to the podium and say, I'm as important a part of this threesome as those two. He's never going to do that. He's going to put himself in that other pocket, if you will. Gabe Vilardi, for as long as I have scouted this kid, going back to the Ontario Hockey League, has always been one of the most, and you guys have got to know him, you've been around him. He's one of the most positive people that you can be around having a coffee in the morning. He's gone through a lot. Think about the back situation. He's never been a burner. He's got excellent puck touch. His hands are ridiculous. He thinks the game at an elite level. I just don't think that this guy gets down on himself to the point where it's going to carry on and on and on. I think that he looks at himself inwardly, and he's gone through some things physically through injury, and he's had to persevere. He understands that, listen, it could be a lot worse. I could be up in the press box recuperating from injury, watching this happen. I've got 26, 28 shots on goal. I'm getting my chances, and it's just going to be a matter of time. And he's capitalizing on that. And the Jets need that to happen, obviously, right? They need their elite players to do what he's doing right now on the top line. And but that's an interesting line. I'm regurgitating in my mind here, Kenny, when you talk about speed. And isn't that interesting, that line right there? Just those three guys, because Scheifele, I feel, can play it both ways. Vilardi's definitely not the burner on that line. And, so it's interesting how they complement each other. I trust in Gabe Vilardi, guys, and the Winnipeg Jets are a much better team when he's healthy. And hopefully this is just the beginning of really good things for him for the rest of the year.
Just quickly on that, Sean, I just think too that the timing of the Vilardi injury last year was just crushing in a lot of ways. If Gabe Vilardi doesn't get hurt, he's a 35 goal guy. He's going into I know he was cold a little bit before the injury, but to me, if Vilardi's healthy, doesn't go through that, it's a different series with Dallas, because he never got back to the level he was at before the injury. And another thing about him, Jay, that's so interesting, he's not a burner, so he's not getting there to, disrupt things on the forecheck by getting on the body, but he can do it with his hands and winning board battles and some of those other things that makes them really click. And I think for Gabe, it's you're right. He's a positive guy, but having that confidence, I think all that time in LA was really good for him, but he kind of got pigeonholed as more of a third line guy. You're not sure if he's a center. You're not sure if he's a winger. Todd wants him to lean in on the checking, and all of a sudden he gets to Winnipeg and they're like, hey, we see you as a first line guy, go out and produce. And now he's been able to stay mostly healthy. I think it's not about belief to me. I think Gabe has always believed he's had it in him, but now that he has other people showing belief in him, it's allowing him to become a point of game player. And again, can he keep up that pace? We'll see, but this is a guy that can be a highly productive player on one of the best lines in hockey.
He's playing free, Renny. Like that's the thing. Skilled guys like Gabe Vilardi, they have to play free. They can't be thinking about, I got to be trapping in the neutral zone, or I got to, all these other things. They have to be able to play free so that their ultimate skill attribute can contribute to team results. And you're gonna give those guys a little bit more rope, aren't you, Kenny? Like you do. You give them a little bit more rope. But take a look at Mark Scheifele. 4 years ago, Mark Scheifele. 3 years ago, Mark Scheifele. I'm talking like -16, -19 Mark Scheifele, and then all of a sudden +16, +15, and then the version you see right now. Mm-hmm. Boy, oh boy, has he ever turned his entire game around. And that is why he'll be on Team Canada.
Well, it's so fascinating, the growth that you guys talk about, growth in Mark Scheifele, growth in the Gabe Vilardi, clearly. And to your point about him playing free, it's kind of amazing that he came into a Jets team that was kind of altering their DNA and becoming a far more defensively responsible team. That, you could saw it in the results in Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor, that their offense kind of broke down before they built it back up. For him to walk in, be able to play within that system and do a good job of it and still find a way to feel free and play free is absolutely amazing. When we're talking with growth and all those guys, Ken, we're going to get to talking about Josh Morrissey and the growth that we've seen in his game. I'm not so sure that there was much in the way of growth other than the fact that the points started adding up. It's growing there. But before we do that, I just want to say, if you want to shoot for growth, you should do so with Cambrian Wealth. Grow your wealth today to reach tomorrow's big goals. Cambrian's Wealth team can assist. Invest in your future self your way. Our pals at Cambrian Wealth give straight up investing advice you can actually understand and help you make a strong financial play to get there. Book an appointment at cambrian.mb.ca. Okay, Ken, remind me of this. Is Josh Morrissey now back up to a point per game pace?
Yes, he is. 1 goal, 10 assists, 11 points on the season. Only Cale Makar has more. I think Jake Sanderson got one today, Books. That got him to 11 maybe. But Josh Morrissey just absolutely on fire. On the ice, he's just been a machine. Barely, I know he was on the ice for an unlucky one today, the one that goes off the linesman's skate or whatever, but I think that's maybe the 4th goal he's been on for 5-on-5 against. He's shouldered such a massive load with Dylan Sandberg being out. Jay, what are you seeing from him? And again, we know there's been tons of talk about Matthew Schaefer, and rightfully so. Harley just gets the big ticket. Sanheim's been great in Philly, but to me, Josh Morrissey's a top 4 D-man on Team Canada, is he not?
Absolutely. You'll win with them. You're going to win. I hope they're going to win with all those guys. So I don't want to discount the value of all of them. But I've always felt that Josh Morrissey doesn't get what he deserves in the big picture. And I'm not even just talking about at the pro level. I'm talking about like thinking back to his development years, that sneaky physicality, because he'll sneak up on you in the neutral zone and he'll hit you hard. People don't sometimes appreciate that out of his game. This is a complete player. You trust him in all scenarios. He's a warrior. He produces offense. He plays with defensive detail. He's just he leads by example. And this guy, not only should he be on Team Canada, I think that honestly he's out of the gate, and it's a small sample size, but I imagine he's going to continue on like this. Wait till the end of the year when the trophies are starting to get handed out for individual awards. He's got to be in the mix. This guy's an excellent player. And
I know they love him with Devon Taves, but wouldn't you love to see Makar and Morrissey on a few shifts out there in that tournament?
100%. I know they love him with Taves. You're absolutely right. But so in international events, my biggest beef, if you will, if I do have one, is that sometimes we protect instead of going on the offensive all the time as a Canadian on the Canadian international squad, whether it be the World Juniors, the Olympics, the Four Nations, whatever, I would prefer for us to load up 2 defense pairings where they're just challenging the opponent to try and keep up with them, be aware of the extra layer. Maybe they're lugging the puck up the ice, Makar, Morrissey can do it, et cetera, et cetera. Oh, it'd be like having 2 power play quarterbacks out there on 5-on-5. It would create a lot of problems for all their opponents, for sure.
I gotta say, Ken, one of the things that we definitely got right on this show is some of the hand wringing that was happening earlier in the season here about people worried about guys getting going, the likes of Josh Morrissey, the likes of Gabe Vilardi. As long as you're winning and finding ways to win, and no doubt Mark Scheifele and Kyle Connor were carrying things for this team early on. It's given time for Taves to get going. It's given time for Vilardi to get going. It's given time for Josh Morrissey to get going. And again, I want to stress, I don't necessarily think those guys weren't going. In a short sample size, it wasn't adding up to points. I never looked at Josh Morrissey once this year and thought his game's off. In fact, the one thing that I found surprising was when I looked in the points column and saw that he wasn't getting a lot of points. But Books, I wanted to get your thoughts on like the patience shown by the Winnipeg Jets this year. You talked about, a little bit of what makes them good, veteran team, knows how to win, all those kind of things. I'm sure you've been around those kind of teams in the past, but every player wants to squeeze. Gabe Vilardi challenged Ken right back when not that Ken was challenging him, but he turned around and asked Ken asked him, what do you think of the way you're playing or producing? And he turned around and he said, well, what do you think, Ken? Or whatever, whatever it was. It was good because he was like you can tell those guys get frustrated, but when you get those teams that are kind of taking care of business, getting it done, and allow the patience for players to say, don't worry about it. Don't panic. We got you. When you arrive, you arrive. Can you give us what that does to the psychology of a player?
So first of all, it brings pause to, they all want to produce at their highest level for the good of the group, right? Like that's how they're programmed. No question. So they get frustrated when it's not happening. But what you're seeing is a veteran team. And I'm going to give you a double-edged sword answer here. The first side of it is that in regular season, when you have opportunities to have one-offs against teams coming in to Winnipeg, or if you're on the road and you're not getting the best version, guys, it's easier to pick each other up, okay? It's easier to pick each other up, and you can kind of hide some of your warts occasionally in the regular season. But to your point at the beginning of the conversation, Renny, you don't want to be having the same sort of, I'm waiting for the guy beside me across the room to pick me up in playoffs, because that's not how it works. In a 7-game set, you don't have the opportunity to rely on anybody else. You have to be the best version of yourself. So that's what regular season's for. That's a sign of a really good team when they can pick each other up like this. But to your point at the beginning, the sustainability of that come April, that's not the same. I don't want the three of us to be sitting here having the same sort of conversations in March at the trade deadline that we were looking for guys to help each other out, to pick each other up. That doesn't work like that in the tail end of the season.
Books, you were as emphatic as we've been about Mark Scheifele. I'm going to, we know that he should be on the team. How about this one from Baby Yoda? If Team Canada was smart, they'd have Scheifele along Connor McDavid. Sean and I have talked about it. Yes, he may start the tournament on the fourth line or wherever, but to me, because of his skating, because of his smarts, because of his shot, because of his puck protecting ability in an event like that, I think Canada would be smart playing him with McKinnon or McDavid. What say you?
Yeah, absolutely. No harm in that. I'll go back to what I just said a second ago about Morrissey and McCarr playing together. Absolutely. Not only are you going to get offense out of Scheifele, he's figured it out now where you can depend on him off the puck to be above. Like if they're pinned in down low off the puck, he's going to be above it. You know what I mean? He's going to give you that safety net where he's going to be able to move forward and quick strike and put the puck in the back of the net like he did tonight. Or he's going to give you a reason to believe that he's going to be on the right side of it to cover for a pinching defenseman or cover on the back check. All these things. Connor McDavid is the best hockey player in the world, guys. He absolutely is. But there are times that he's chasing the game on the back check. That is the Edmonton Oilers way, isn't it? Like you look at them, there are moments that they're chasing the game in the wrong direction. So they require that type of running mate, if you will. And Scheifele, 3-4 years ago, I would never have been having this conversation with you. I can't stress it to you enough. He has earned my trust. A veteran player has earned my trust, changed his stripes to the point where I'm like, boy, oh boy, what else can he do? What else can this guy do? He's earned it now, right? He deserves it.
You know what I find fascinating about the way he's playing right now is the idea that, like, right now, is Mark Scheifele a scorer or is he a passer? And the idea is just that, like, sometimes he gets locked into being one or the other. Like sometimes when he got scoring, it was all that. So not all that, but like right now it seems, and I talked about this earlier on, Jay, where sometimes Mark Scheifele, I've seen him in the past, can get into the idea that he's a passer and then he's not shooting enough, right? And I think that's a pretty common thing. In fact, some players are just straight up assist guys. Some guys are scorers. The way that he's kind of found the perfect kind of mix of knowing when to shoot and knowing when to pass. Do you think that helps his cause anymore? The fact that right now he kind of looks like he can do it all and knows how to straddle that line as good as anyone.
He's as close to a complete player in that he's ever been right now. This is the best version of him in all those categories. So one thing that I would counter with on that, Sean, is that again, with his line mates, and you talk about the speed that the Winnipeg Jets play and how they play in units, even 5-man units, the familiarity, he has grown with that group as well. So he's evolved, but he also knows where everybody is, and they have that type of synergy as a team. But the fact that he's evolved to the point he has, absolutely, like bring him in. You want him to be a distributor, be a distributor. You want him to put, because if he's playing McDavid, he's going to have to, if he gets it on the half wall, he's at a standstill. McDavid's low and slow. He's hitting the rush at full speed. Now he's got to join it off the puck, and he's got to, find quiet ice because the other guy's going, right? Mark Scheifele is as close to a complete player right now. He's kind of evolved. The other guy in the league that's evolved like that for me is Jack Eichel in Las Vegas. He's become that way as well. And good on him. I'm if 3 years ago I'm going to sit here and have a conversation with you, this guy's got to be better off the puck. He's got to be better along the wall, yada, 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 and be hard on him. I got to equally, chew on the fat here and tell you that he deserves all of the kudos now for changing his ways.
Right on. Obviously, a big night for JT here tonight. Jonathan Toews playing his former team for the first time. Yes, it'll be different when he goes into the Madhouse on Madison for the first time. I think it'll probably be beneficial to him that it's happening in January rather than on October 30th, to be honest. Maurice says, let's get Bukla's thoughts on Toews. Sean and I have weighed in plenty. Your thoughts on the story itself and what you've seen in the first 11 games from him.
You know what? I think that on balance, it's probably about exactly what I thought it was going to be. This is a heavy lift, to come. But this guy literally broke down his entire body and rebuilt himself up physically. Like what he's gone through physically to get to this point is nothing short of a miracle in itself. I can tell you from a scouting perspective, and I'm sure you guys have seen it even from covering him before, like when you look at Jonathan Toews now, his body and the way that he's put together, it's totally different. I don't need Jonathan Toews to score 50 points for the Winnipeg Jets. I don't. I need him to be, in the 3-hole, for example, 2-hole. He's like a 2.5 at his best right now is what I would describe him as. Think about it this way, guys. Last year going into playoffs, and the three of us had these discussions, the small area, the very small details, what wins you playoff games, right? Starting with the puck. Let's go there. Who's going to be taking key face-offs in all three zones? Well, Lowry was at about 51% last year, which was an improvement in his career. But Jonathan Toews, already out of the box, 64%. Jonathan Toews is going to do things for this team that are going to, like just a fan eating chicken wings and pounding beers at the bar, they're not going to notice it as much. But for us, we're going to notice it more and more as the season goes along. So the points have been a little bit, they're coming now, but I like the look of his game. And I'm fascinated because his pace looks fine. Like, you talk about there's burners. This league is a track meet, right? But he looks like, and that speaks to his hockey skills.
Jay, I want to go back to the Mark Scheifele conversation, kind of a more global of the other guys who are kind of jumping up and giving him a go for his money. Before I do that, I'm going to do something that's going to make it very hard for you to take me seriously while I'm asking the questions. Gift Guy says the headband is required. It will match Rennie's suit. So you know what that means. It's time to make this a Sean's headband version of the Kenny and Rennie show. If Glenn and Jonah don't know how dedicated I am to making sure they get to see the headband, they know it now. As dedicated as they are over at Myers Pharmacy in making sure that they are servicing everyone across the city of Winnipeg, because of course they deliver everywhere across the city of Winnipeg. So if you have any pharmacy needs, supplement needs, or health food needs, that's the place you got to go check it out, folks. So please do that and say hi to Glenn and Jonah when you are there for us. Okay. Books, I did a Washington Capitals game on the weekend, on the past weekend, watched there as Tom Wilson is leading that team in scoring, an absolute force, 6'5" or 6'4", 220 pounds. He's kind of, I had a good conversation with Spencer Carberry in that he was telling me like how he handled the disappointment of that and how he just kind of came back and didn't let it be a negative, used it to drive him, handled it the right way is how he said it. Mark Scheifele is the exact same thing. A guy like Macklin Celebrini is jumping up, but one of the advantages he has is, hey, you look at this guy, if we bring him in now, we know he's going to be here 4 years from now and 2 years from now and all those kind of things. There's candidates out there to replace people who may not make Team Canada, guys who are on the roster when it comes to Four Nations. It's all fine and dandy because every time we talk about Mark Scheifele, there's all these things he's doing right, but in the end, there's preconceived notions, there's competitions that are involved here. Who do you think you put him in the kind of pool of guys who could kick people out of spots on that Four Nation team to get in there? And where do you think he sits right now in that competition?
Well, I guess if you're building out the roster and you're looking at these types of players, you're looking at a player type, right?
Yes.
Now, and now one thing that I have to say is that the Four Nations, the way that it started, like it was everybody's hair was on fire right away, and the dropping of the mitts and stuff. That doesn't happen in Olympic Games, guys. Like it's totally different. That's not going to happen in this tournament. So I guess it just depends on what the coaching staff thinks they require. The thing with this is that, what did he have last year? 30 tucks? I think he had 30 goals, did he not, Tom Wilson, last year? He was right around there at the very least. There's room for him. He's plenty fast enough. He's imposing. He shoots the puck in the net. And you know what, Bennett? There's some other guys right now, and it's early. And yes, they won it last year, and we'll see where this goes in the next less than 100 days. But there's some guys that are trailing way behind Tom Wilson right now in the conversation. If you put me on the spot, if the three of us are having our meeting right now, our scouting meeting to build a roster, there's guys way behind this guy. He's on the team.
33 and 65 for Tom Wilson last year, Books. And just breaking news, Mike McIntyre, my colleague, just texted Seth Jarvis, Winnipegger, hurt tonight. Brindamore says doesn't look good. So we'll see what that means long term. And that sort of puts him in the same.
I can bring you a little bit up to date on that too, because we were watching it out of the corner of our eye. He cycled to the middle of the ice and took a slap shot right in the ankle, and he went down. You guys know Seth Jarvis. This guy's built like he's a tough customer, and it did not look good at all. So that's one to keep an eye on for sure, because that's a name, isn't it, guys?
And then Mark Stone too being hurt. Incredible start, as we know, but that wrist sort of week to week. We'll see how long it takes. Books, to me, Travis Konechny is definitely on the bubble, if not on the outside looking in right now as well.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, now you're starting to get into guys that I just absolutely love, because when the games get exceptionally hard, these are pit bulls, aren't they? Like the Konechnys of the world. He is a pain in the you know what, and he doesn't go away. And he scores, he goes to the hard areas, he plays fast, he can kill, he can do a little bit of absolutely everything. So he's definitely in that mix too. There's room for change on this roster, guys. Like I hear a lot of, even tonight at the shop, we're talking about a lot of the returning guys from last year and whatever, and resting on your laurels and then going through this tournament over a 2-week period of time. Like look at the goaltenders, for example. And I'm not even suggesting that there's one outside of the three that went to the summer camp that I've even popped yet. The goaltending has not been very good for the candidates. But you have got to have an open mind here. You got to rebuild the team for the Olympics, for the Olympic Games, which is different than the Four Nations.
How open a mind would it take to think there was a chance that Matthew Scheifele could be on that team?
He's not on the team for me. Now, I'm not saying that I'm closing that out of my mind. He could be one of the extras, Renny. I think that he'll be around that conversation. I don't, geez, he's up for any challenge. This guy, I got to know him, a lot over the last year and a half. He's obviously gone through a lot of things off the ice, and he scored at least once tonight again for the Islanders in Carolina, and he's going to be there for a long, long time. The Bedards, the Celebrinis, the Schaefers, the Harleys. You start going through the roster here, and these guys are all going to be the cornerstones going forward. I don't know that there's enough room for him for his style of play. He's a complete player, don't get me wrong. But, is he going to be the primary penalty killer? Probably not. Is he going to run the power play? Probably not. So is he going to be somewhere in the muddy middle for now? Probably. So there's probably going to be some other choices to be made there.
Yeah. Hey, Ken, we got to get into the awards here right away, which means before we do that, I wouldn't mind passing out the Hot Take Award, which I think is one in a walk here on this day. Just give me 1 second to go back and find this. It's this one right here. Bingo Bango says, Kenny is never on vacation. This is the hottest of the hottest takes ever on this show, the worst take. Kenny, I don't know when he works. I don't know when he works. I mean, he's here right now.
He's working right now.
Up. Sure. I guess if you call look what I'm wearing. Do you think we're working right now? This is the furthest possible thing from work. So bingo.
Excuse me. Did I send you the quote loop today, even though I was not in attendance and I was on a plane? Did I get you the quote loop?
I got the quote loop. I'm giving out kudos there.
I will never let the facts get in the way of a good story. And that is why that is the KNR Hot Take, brought to you by Flame & Comfort, Manitoba's premier supplier of fireplaces, wood stoves, inserts, and everything hearth-related. After 50 years heating up your world, Flame & Comfort has moved. I went past it today, 1465 St. James. When you go in there, you will find it is one of the most impressive showrooms in Western Canada. Folks, you don't need your hot takes to keep that warm feeling inside. Visit Flame & Comfort. They will take care of it for you. And Kenny, why don't you give Sweet Lou a shout out while we're at it?
You bet. For folks who have realty needs you'd like to have met, contact our main man, Lou Ferlin at Rolla Page Dynamic Realty, 204-791-9971, or at the office, 204-989-5000. His email is lou@loufurlan.ca. That's LOU@LOUFURLAN.ca. Lou Furlan, excellent realtor, excellent human being, and excellent supporter of this community, including our podcast.
Ken, do you have a Johnson Group got you covered play of the game that stands out to you?
Yeah, I mean, you highlighted it at the beginning, and again, we don't usually give these out on power play markers, but Vlad Nemestikov, Mr. Swiss Army knife on a team full of them, pumps home his 5th already. 11 goals last year, and all we were talking about, oh my goodness, they got to upgrade at second line. Well, he's still on the second line, and he's already got 5 tucks in 11 games. So stick taps to Mr. Nemestikov for his strong start.
I think that line looked phenomenal at the start of this game tonight. And Ken, you said it best when Vladimir Mestikov moved up to the wing on that line, that this was a great opportunity for him. This is like just 3 established players playing off of each other right now. I like what I'm seeing from it in that I thought that we were talking about giving time for players to get going. Gus Nyquist is one of the guys that we've been waiting to get going. It seemed like that was unlocking his game, having those guys together. Too bad that he got hurt and didn't return to the game tonight. But Ken, I think that's a great representative for the Kenny and Renny OGs. The Johnson Group got you covered play of the game. And hey, you run a small business in Canada, look to Canada's number 1 employee benefits plan, Chambers Plan, to give you a competitive edge. Chambers Plan is the simple, stable, smart choice for over 30,000 businesses countrywide. Visit chamberplan.ca to learn more. And that brings us to the keg save of the game. And I got to say, Ken, this is a night.
Leaning on you here, buddy.
The Sean Reynolds stat. There's no doubt about it. Connor Hellebuck was the better goaltender in this game. And I'll say this, like a great save on the breakaway. Connor Bedard got a couple of his, patented wide open looks and did that kind of drag in to change the angle and went like right over the blocker. And it's there, except it's not there because Connor Hellebuck's got it. It's strange to say, especially after they got those 2 late goals, and the game probably changes if it gets a little bit tighter. But I thought there was, at least 2, if not 3 goals that Connor Hellebuck took off the board on this night. And we're not even talking about how great he was on this night. For me, I think it is, and I forget Green in the first period, the breakaway backhand to the blocker. It's just such a calm, great save by Connor Hellebuck. But honestly, as we saw in the chat room, so many people going, there were so many choices for that tonight. So that is, I'll go with that. And I'm probably wrong on this one. One of the few times that's happened on this show, I guess I could say, but it doesn't matter if I'm wrong. It only matters what you think. Share with us your hashtag, the keg save of the game. You are automatically entered to win a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg, each location finer than the last. And the winner from our last show, that would be GIF Guy or GIF Guy. I never know how it's pronounced. I just know that he won the gift card. So you know what to do, GIF/GIF Guy. Direct message me at SN Sean Reynolds. Send me your full name. Send me an email. I'll have the fine folks at the keg send you a $50 gift certificate usable at any of the 3 fine keg locations here in the city of Winnipeg. Each location finer than the last. You know what? Just to go back, I didn't really get your thoughts on Celebrini, Books. Is what he's doing right now, is that putting him in a place where, I mean, a 19-year-old on Team Canada, I love the idea of getting a guy on the roster so that the next 4 years later, he's there, he's seen it, he's established it. They didn't do it with Sidney Crosby. The first year he could have gone. I thought it was a mistake. It turned out to be a disaster in tour, and I thought that was part of it. I thought it worked out really well with Jonathan Toews when they did it in 2010. Is that something in Canada, if you can do it, you should be doing it? Or is that something that if you make it, you make it, but honestly, it's got to go to the guys who are there first and foremost?
Well, the difference between, like, when we talk about Schaefer compared to Celebrini, I see a path forward for Celebrini to play to his identity, be on one of the power play units, push the play offensively, even at even strength. I see where Celebrini's game fits differently than Schaefer. And I don't want to introduce Schaefer into this conversation. It's a defenseman compared to a forward. But as of today, and I said it on the network tonight, like, Macklin Celebrini is on my team if it was picked today. Scheifele's on my team if it's picked today, and not because one guy's 19 and there's going to be guys out there that are in their 30s. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't. He based on just straight up merit and the way he carries. Well, listen, not just him. They got a lot of great young players on the come see there in San Jose, but the way he plays the game, competes on and off the puck, up and down the ice sheet, boys. He's on the team, and I see a path forward for him to be on the team and not just be an extra. I think he's part of the equation.
I got a quick one, Sean, too. Lowry, do a new deal. Books, what do you think it looks like, or what's a good comparable for him?
Oh boy. So that's an interesting one for me and real tough, because that category of player, so far what we've seen is these long-term extensions on category players that are kind of up here, and it's for a lot of money and a lot of term. I Lowry, for what he brings there, I don't have his salary in front of me right now. What's his number right now? Do you guys remember?
Just either just over 3 or just under 3.
Yeah, I was going to say
just over 3. Yeah.
Just over 3, right? Yeah. So I think that you do a longer term deal, somewhere between probably around 4 or 5, if it's going to be longer, and you get really good value out of that. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets sort of what John Tavares has got in Toronto right now, because that's what Lowry is. That's his value to the Winnipeg Jets, and he's the captain of your team, guys, and he plays the game the right way, and he bleeds blue. So. I bring him back for something that maybe some people are going to look at as an overpayment, but the cap is going up. But I have to predicate this by saying this, my conclusion. I don't know what the internal cap for the Winnipeg Jets is going to look like long term, or if there's ever even going to be one, as the cap keeps getting higher and higher and higher. So I think that it's an open-ended conversation based on a lot of moving parts.
Sorry, 3.25 is what he's on right now.
Yeah.
So you see a path. You see a path to at least another $1 million with the cap going up. Would you guys
Agreed.
not agree with that? Or?
Oh God, yeah. I think he's one of the biggest bargains in the league. Books, to play off your last comment there. Adam Lowry plays the game the right way. You always play the Kenny and Renny game the right way when you show up there. And we couldn't possibly overpay you, even if we did pay you, which we don't, which is kind of criminal. I don't know why you keep coming back, but we sure are happy that
I love you guys. It's great. It's awesome. This is
come to Winnipeg. Dinner's on us, Books.
After a long shift. Wait, listen, anytime I get to spend time with you guys is great. And, it's I'm honored to be here. And what else would I be doing at the W Hotel in Toronto after a shift at Sportsnet besides talking to you guys, right?
Excellent stuff.
Will I see you at Game 6 tomorrow, Books?
Listen, we might have an in. Sammy Cause and I. Now, nice. Will you see me? No, because if I go there, I'm going to be whooping it up. I'm going to be incognito, double fisting some bevies. So I don't want anybody to see that car accident.
There we go. Good stuff. Books, you did amazing. Ken, you did amazing as always. In the audience, they were keeping us honest as they always do. I'll say to all the people out there, if you appreciate the conversations happening in this space, we implore you to appreciate our sponsors who fight to keep the conversation going in this space. For us, that's Jim Pattison Toyota on Region, Vittorio Rossi, Cambrian Credit Union, Pristine Roofing and their wake-up call, Flame and Comfort, Sweet Lou Furlan, Myers Pharmacy, Johnston Group, the Kenny and Renny OGs, and of course the Keg. Thank you to them. Thank you to all of you. Let's get together and do this all over again Saturday when the Jets welcome the surprising so far this season Pittsburgh Penguins. It's going to be great. Thanks again, Books. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.